Welcome to Channels Book Club. I am Olakunle Kasumo. Nigeria has about 250 ethnic groups and over 500 different languages. Of those languages, about 9 are already extinct. The official language of Nigeria is English, which is spoken more in the country's urban communities than its rural areas. The other major languages include Hausa, Igbo, Yoruba, Ibibio, Edo, and Kanuri. But many of those languages seem not to have been developed enough to become as influential as more globally used languages are. The worrying thing for some culture activists in Nigeria is that Nigerians do not value the country's diverse culture, languages, and literature well enough. Many young Nigerians in urban areas struggle to speak local dialects, talk less of embracing literature written in those languages. At the Ethnic Heritage Center, Ikoyi, Lagos, I met two young Nigerians in their early 30s who are culture activists to discuss the need for Nigerians to appreciate their own languages and literature. Olutayo Irantiola is the author of an anthology of poetry in English and Yoruba languages titled Thought Patterns. He hosts a quarterly cultural program tagged Yoruba Lakotun, where Yoruba writers and other creatives are featured. Adebayo Adegbembo is the founder and CEO of Jenai Games Limited, the company behind the Asha brand of mobile apps which are targeted at kids towards the promotion of indigenous African cultures. The two gentlemen are graduates of Nigerian universities. Enjoy my chat with them. Bayo, Tayo, thank you for joining us on Channels Book Club.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to have you here. Now, you guys, it's like you're on a mission to encourage and promote indigenous culture, languages, and literature. You know, but let's talk generally. Isn't the world now flat? The world is now flat. The boundaries, that separate countries they've almost disappeared now. Everybody wants to have a way of communicating with every other person in some other parts of the world. So French, English, Chinese, those are the major languages in the world right now. So somebody might ask you, who cares about Yoruba or Igbo or Hausa, at the global stage? Bayo, what's your take on that? Isn't that the reality of the world we live in right now? Why should we bother about these local languages and literature?
Okay, so I get that a lot. I see that I see people write about that. And what I think it is there's a room for both to exist, the lingua franca, which is usually Western languages, because the reality is that, these languages themselves have evolved over time. There was a conscious decision by some people to make them what they are today. And so we shouldn't be picking up these languages at the exclusion of ours. We could equally evolve our own languages, to match these ones. And another thing is we shouldn't see language only as a form of communication. Language is itself, an expression of identities. That's what I tell people. Language is how you define yourself in terms of your cultural identity. It's fine to learn English and French and the likes, but there's also room for indigenous languages in terms of defining us as people. So I think it's highly important.
Tayo, who reads? These are Yoruba books. Okay, and we've got Igbo literature, we've got Hausa literature, all sorts of indigenous books. Who reads them? Is there a readership for you? You have written books in Yoruba. Are there people that still read books in Yoruba?
Yes, people still read books in Yoruba, and people still cherish writings in Yoruba language. Currently now, globally, there are two places where you find a lot of Yoruba books. You have the School of African and Oriental Studies in the United Kingdom. You also have the University of Wisconsin-Madison in the US. They have large volumes of Yoruba books. Now, people from America come to Nigeria every year to learn the language. People go from Nigeria to the US on Fulbright scholarship to teach Yoruba language. What does this mean to us is that the world itself has turned the spotlight on African languages, African literature, and things that we are now neglecting. Now, sometimes last year, Professor Toyin Falola was given an assignment to put together the names of different writers of Yoruba books. And he wrote a list of them. Currently now, Yoruba books had come into two parts. There are some Yoruba books that are written in English, and there are some Yoruba books that are written in Yoruba. Because if you read some particular text, for example, you have the history of the Yorubas by Reverend Samuel Johnson. You know,
got that somewhere there.
Yes.
The real classic.
Yes. This book was published ages ago, and it's published in English language. So everybody globally had had the opportunity of coming in touch with this book, and it's in English language. But the book goes as far as describing the tribal marks of different people to tell you this is what this tribal marks means. These are the type of people that have these tribal marks. It describes some of the wars that had happened. You know, before we got to the Biafran War, we've had our own local wars in the regions and things like that. This book has all of that. So there is a readership for Yoruba books. People are reading it, and the world is accepting it. But the only thing that we are out to tell our people is, hey, what we have, let's also get it close to us. Let's not treat it like a strange thing, so that we'll be able to make good sense out of it when we are trying to show it to others.
I've been to a university in Europe where I was amazed by the amount of Yoruba literature that I found there. You know, why are they interested in the Yoruba language?
The spotlight is currently on Africa. They want to know what exactly is in our language, what exactly is in our writings, what exactly makes the accent change the meanings of words. You know, for words in Yoruba language that have the accents on it, or the tonal marks, like people call it, it changes the meaning of that same writing at every point in time. The ogun, 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 you know, it changes it all at every point in time. So the thing now is they want to understand us. Just like we too will study the English literature, we will consider the Victorian period, the Romantic period, you know, and try and study the Thomas Hardy, all of these writers. So this time now, they are trying to understand our own world view, because that's what essentially is in our writings. It is who we are, what we do, our day-to-day life that is documented in writing. Yes, it might either be fiction, it might be faction, it might be whatever, but what we do, who we are, that's what everybody wants to know now.
Bayo, do you read Yoruba literature?
No.
Can you read Yoruba literature?
Yes, I can.
Can you read Igbo literature?
No, not at all.
Okay, just Yoruba.
Just Yoruba.
How regularly do you read Yoruba literature?
I haven't read it in a long time. I remember, I mean, I read really well in my secondary school. It was deep in secondary school.
Cool. The reason why you've not read it in a long time be because you have not found it relevant or useful in a long time?
Okay, so I mean, I'd like to see the literature, Yoruba literature, from 2 points of view. On the one hand, there's the one written in English, you know, which is to understand Yoruba, you know, culture as a whole.
Written in English about Yoruba
About
culture.
Yoruba. You know, I would say I'm conversant with that one because of the interest in, you know, the people and the culture itself. But then the ones written in Yoruba, I haven't touched in secondary school, you know.
So what's the answer to my question? Is that so because you've not found it relevant? Maybe you were forced to do that in secondary school because you had to pass your examinations. Mm-hmm. Is that correct? Would that be a fair assessment?
Yeah, that can be. I think it also speaks to, you know, the genre of books that I find. I like thrillers. I don't know if Yoruba literature has thrillers. You know. So it might be my own ignorance. You know. So yes, I would say it's the one reason too.
Tayo, that's what do you think about that? You have written, you still write in Yoruba.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, maybe people are not reading Yoruba literature or Igbo literature, Hausa literature, or Ijaw literature because they don't find them relevant.
The relevance of a Yoruba book is the same like the relevance of reading Shakespeare. Shakespeare has written his books for more than 400 years. And ironically, we don't have even Yoruba books that are up to 400 years.
Yeah, but I mean, who reads a book by Shakespeare, for example? Either a literature student,
yes,
or somebody who simply wants to enjoy the pleasure of reading it.
But we can remember that Hamlet had traveled far and wide, and different other books of Shakespeare, Macbeth, different dramas, different theater groups are still showing those plays till date. It's been made into videos and all sorts. So what it means is that all these literatures can still be brought to life. Same had happened around here. Somebody like Mr. Tunde Kilani had gone all the way to put some books written by Professor Akinwumi Shola, Adebayo Faliti into videos. You understand? Yeah. So the thing now is, if those books were not relevant and they don't still speak to our age and time, they would not have moved forward a step further. Okay. And if you look at it, because it's in video form, a lot of people had accepted it much more than sitting down to read.
Now, let me challenge you guys to a reading contest in Yoruba. Do you have any Yoruba book there? Any Yoruba literature in front of you there? Okay, you've got the one you wrote. Is there one there for you?
None here.
Anyone there? Is there one there?
This is in English. Okay.
So there you go.
Ìrònú ayọ̀ ni èyí tí mò ń rò yìí ní tàbí ti ìbànújẹ́.
Tayo, you're next.
Okay, I'll be doing a poem, Oríjàjò Ògùn. Ìṣẹ̀dá lórí, orí la fi mẹ́ran láwo, orí ẹni ló ń yọni, orí la lábàárò ẹni, orí la àbáfọ̀rọ̀ ẹni lọ, orí ni àjíkí, orí lẹlẹ́dàá, ẹ̀dá lórí.
What does that mean? Is there an English translation to that?
There's no English translation, but basically, Ori, you know, is a god in Yoruba land, though, but it indirectly also means our head, you know, and we believe that you should revere and worship your head as well, you know, because you consult with your head, your head brings you good luck, you know, okay. And just worship your head basically and make use of it because it also deals with your person.
Okay, I'm next. That's all you do when you're not sure of yourself. Mo dúpẹ́ o, mo fi ìwé yìí júbà gbogbo àwọn tí ó ṣáájú mi nínú kíkọ ìtàn Yorùbá sílẹ̀. I'm not ready to translate that. Thank you very much, Bayo, for joining us on the Channels Book Club. Bayo, thank you for joining us on the Channels Book Club.